Hare Krishna, somebody can please lead the invocation prayers. Hare Krishna, somebody can lead the invocation prayers.
Hare Krishna, Om Akshana Timrandasya Jnananjana Salakiya Chakshurun Meladamena Dasme Sri Guruve Namaga Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swarupakadamakiyam Tadadi Swapadandiyam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yudapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamcha Sri Ruvam Sakrayadam Sagana Raghunatha Cha Jivam Sadvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sagidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Kalida Sri Visahanvidam Cha He Krishna Harna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gobe Sahobya Handa Radha Handa Namastude Taptahanjana Haurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prasabhanu Sadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanjahalpatarubhyacha Kripa Sindhu Avicya Patidanam Bhavanepyo Vaisnavepyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. So last Sunday, devotees from various batches, while they were doing services at the Toronto temple, they became head cooks because the head cook became sick, and then the alternate head cook had to leave partway through. So the devotees became the head cooks. So this is what Prabhupada has described in Srimad Bhagavatam, or Srila Narad Muni has described in Canto 1, Chapter 6, that one should just wait for an opportune time to render devotional service. You continue rendering devotional service, and when you get an opportunity for some more, then you try your best to serve Krishna. So they all directly served Krishna. So they prepared nectar. Nectar was, they just took syrup and sugar and water. That was so nice because they all prepared with love and devotion. Simultaneously, all devotees also had the task of mind control, the next level of mind control, to listen to Srila Prabhupada lecture while doing services. So they had three tasks. One was to cut fruits and vegetables. Second was to listen to Prabhupada, and while listening, they had a list of questions to answer. They were in the sequence. And then third point was to stop at a particular statement when Prabhupada says. So right now we have from this batch, Archana and Vimal Prabhu's present. They can share their experience, what went on.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So my experience was, my mind was agitated because I was complaining. I complained to Prabhuji, Prabhuji is so noisy here. And then Prabhuji said, yeah, the material world is like that only. It is always noisy. And it was very hard because I thought I got all the answer. But when I go through again, no, I couldn't. I only able to stop where Prabhuji has asked me to stop. So no, the mind control was still, I'm very away from the mind control.
Yeah, so what devotees do is they either focus on answering the question and then they miss the statement where you are supposed to stop, or other devotees, they only focus on the statement where they are supposed to stop and not answer the question. Why? Because they were not listening. They are just focused on a particular task. And Archana pointed out correctly that it was so noisy. Well, material world is like this. So we have to be able to control our mind in such Kurukshetra-like environment. So you can understand that Arjuna perfected his mind control during an actual war. We are not in an actual war, but it seems like an actual war. Very good. Thank you. Vimal Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, it's seems like a very easy task, but it was not easy at all. Once you go through the experience, then you realize that your mind is occupied so much many more places that even you try to bring it to one place, then you miss other place, and you think you got the other place, but then you miss the other place. And plus, on the same time, we were cutting as well. So it's so much confusion. Then you realize that. How much hard work we have to do. We're not even in the beginning stage yet. But again, thank you for giving us the opportunity. It was a lesson learning. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, very good. So Vimal Prabhu also correctly described that we are doing multiple tasks and the mind is everywhere. So although the devotees are saying that they are far away from where they should be, but actually they all passed the test because the test was to visualize how much the mind is out of control. So you all actually passed the test. So all those devotees who did the services can get the recording for this exercise from me and listen in a peaceful environment so that when we do this exercise again, you are well prepared. So we'll soon be doing this exercise for the second time so that you are well prepared, as well as the rest of the devotees from this batch also. You can get the recording from me for this exercise. We have done this exercise in where you will hear, some of you will hear your own voices. Yeah, so this is the next level of mind control that we have to come to this point of being able to control the mind uh, in a completely agitated environment. When we are under normal circumstances, sitting with a cone of silence, it seems like the mind is in control, but that's not how we live. We live in the material world where things are very fluid, exactly how Vimal Prabhu was describing. So this is our work in progress. So all of you, if you are interested for this next level of mind control, even though you might have done this exercise before, this is our ultimate goal. So you should get this recording from me. Send a message to me and I will send it to you. Whosoever is interested for this, as well as those who did services for sure should get it, so that when you'll be doing this service again in a couple of weeks' time, you are a little better prepared than what you were last time. Matan Prabhu, you are not Matan Prabhu. Mayank Prabhu, you wanna share something from our last service? What happened with the listening to recording?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Uh, yeah, so as per my experience, uh, so for first time when Prabhuji asked to listen and uh, to find out the answers for the particular questions, as well as to stop at a particular point. Uh, so uh, s- basically, when I was trying to listen and get the answers, I was actually not able to get the proper answer that was been provided by Srila Prabhupada in the lecture. I was able to stop at a particular point, but yeah, related to finding the proper answers, I was not able to do so. And second time, when Prabhuji asked to do it, at that time, there was also an instruction to do the work quickly. Uh, so as per my experience, second time, my entire focus was to get that work done, and like I missed a lot more than the first time. So, yeah, so basically, as per my experience, the conclusion that I got is it's actually very difficult to keep the mind focused at a particular point. Uh, and yeah, I mean that's what my experience was.
Yeah, very good. Correct realization that it is very difficult to focus the mind. It is possible. We just have to train our mind. So it's a work in progress for me also. We just have to do it. So Matan Prabhu, you did not fail. You also passed like rest of the devotees in realizing how much of the endeavor is required. So they all listen to the same lecture twice within a span of about 30 minutes or so. Still, the mind was not listening to the lecture. They were everywhere. Very good. Thank you. Any questions, comments, realizations? So whoever is interested for this mind control exercise, get the recording from me. And specifically those in Toronto area, definitely you should get it from the recording so that next time we do this exercise, you are slightly well prepared than what we were on the first attempt. Okay, very good. So what we're going to cover today is we will first cover Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, and then I will discuss the inquiries where Nitya and Matan Prabhus are also going to answer a couple of inquiries. Why we're doing the inquiries afterwards is because some of the inquiries will get answered in this chapter 2, or at least after this chapter 2 discussion, the inquiries will become easy to answer. So Canto 2 is titled The Cosmic Manifestation. Chapters 1 to 5 is Unit 6. Unit 6 is titled Prayers of Sukadeva Goswami and Universal Form. This chapter 2 is titled The Lord in the Heart. This chapter 2 is very technical chapter. The only reason we are discussing this chapter 2 is because Sukadeva Goswami spoke this chapter. In this chapter 2, the spiritual body of the Lord is described. So for the practice of dharana by a perfected yogi, the two paths of merging into the Lord for those who desire to give up their bodies are also described. So dharana means meditation on the visible material objects which infer the presence of the Lord is described, and dharana on the Bhagavan is also described. So spiritual body of the Lord is the dharana, means on which we have to meditate. That how the mind has to be applied, this is what described in here. This chapter 2 is divided into 4 parts. Part 1 is verses 1 to 7. Title is Rejection of Karma Kanda. Part 2 is verses 8 to 13. Description of Super Soul. Part 3 is verses 14 to 32. Practice and process of leaving the body for an advanced yogi. In this part 3, verses 14 to 21 describe the instant process, and verses 22 to 32 describe the gradual process. Part 4 is verses 33 to 37, sadhana bhakti as the best process. Everybody got the parts? And before I continue further, I forgot to mention about Vimal Prabhu's Vaikunta kids and his wife also did a lot of amazing services, just as we have Archana's son Vaikunta's kid Devraj. Similarly, Vimal Prabhu's two daughters, Trisha and Kamya, are also Vaikunta kids. They did amazing services together with everybody else. Thank you. So in this Canto 2, Chapter 2, Sukadeva Goswami describes the relevance of accepting minimum necessities in life by a devotee. Sukadeva Goswami gives the instant process and the gradual process of liberation. In the instant process, it says, fix your mind on universal form, free from contamination. Fix your mind on the Vishnu Murti in the heart, then will attain perfection. And those who perform direct devotional service can penetrate through the coverings of the universe. In the gradual process, there are different destinations. Those desiring to see planetary systems of entities in heavenly planets, that how heavenly denizens are enjoying, then they go there. Or somebody wants to attain some siddhis, or some others desiring to go to Brahma Loka. So all these are gradual processes. So they go to heaven or to Brahma Loka. There, some are still not fully purified because they still have some desires. But still, they are slightly elevated. They still have little stronger sadhana than rest of us. Therefore, they end up becoming controlling demigods. And some others who do devotional services, say in these higher planets, such as Brahmaloka, when they do rigid devotional service in higher planets, they can also get liberated at the end of Brahmaji's life. So by hearing scriptures from pure devotees like Sukadeva Goswami, devotion will be awakened and affinity to hear more about the activities of Supreme Lord will increase. And in the next chapter 3, Sukadeva Goswami will further describe how to do devotional service. So if you step back to the previous chapter, so in Canto 2, Chapter 1, verse number 22, Parikshit Maharaj inquired where the mind has to be applied and fixed so that dirty things can be removed. And same way in the previous chapter in 2.1.23, Sukadeva Goswami replied that one should fix the mind on the gross potencies of the Lord, meaning the universal form, so that the mind can be gradually purified. One who concentrates on the universal form, then mind becomes purified. In that purified consciousness, yogi is successful in meditating in the heart, and this point is discussed here in this chapter 2. Now, this conception of the universal form, the Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form, which is just a concept, is for those who are following the Mishra Bhakti, the Astanga Yoga in a Mishra way, where they have some component of Astanga Yoga, some component of Bhakti. So all this discussion that we are going to have here in this chapter, as well as what we had in the previous chapter, and all this further discussion in Canto 2 about universal form, this does not apply to you all devotees, because you all are Bhakti Yogi devotees. Yes, we are discussing because it's described in Srimad Bhagavatam, and we'll understand. So some of the questions that the devotees have asked will further solidify our discussion and understanding on this point. So Shivangi will read in the previous chapter. So Canto 2, Chapter 1, we'll read 22, 23 translations, and then we will come to Canto 2, Chapter 2, Verse 1 translation and purport to connect the dots as to where we are. Shivangi.
Hare Krishna, text 22. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. Since Sri Krishna, the Absolute Truth, the master of all mystic powers, has departed for his own abode, please tell us to whom the religious principles have now gone for shelter.
Shivangi, where did you read? So Canto 2, Chapter 1, 22, 23.
Oh, sorry, I read chapter 1. Text 22. The fortunate king Parikshit, inquiring further, said, O Brahmana, please describe in full detail how and where the mind has to be applied and how the conception can be fixed so that the dirty things in a person's mind can be removed. Text 23. Shukadeva Goswami answered, one should control the sitting posture, regulate the breathing process by the yogic pranayama, and thus control the mind and senses with intelligence. Apply the mind to the gross potencies of the Lord, called the Virat Rupa.
Right, so this is what Parikshit Maharaj asked in the previous chapter, that where the mind has to be applied, and Sukadeva Goswami is saying fixed on the Virat Rupa. So now we'll continue in Canto 2, Chapter 2. Shivangi will continue verse 1, translation and purport.
Text 1. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, formerly, prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Rupa, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Thus, he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before. Purport. The example cited herein of Sri Brahmaji is one of forgetfulness. Brahmaji is the incarnation of one of the mundane attributes of the Lord. Being the incarnation of the passion mode of material nature, he is empowered by the Lord to generate the beautiful material manifestation. Yet due to his being one of the numerous living entities, he is apt to forget the art of his creative energy. This forgetfulness of the living being, beginning from Brahma down to the lowest insignificant ant, is a tendency which can be counteracted by meditation on the Virat Rupa of the Lord. This chance is available in the human form of life, and if a human being follows the instruction of Srimad Bhagavatam and begins to meditate upon the Virat Rupa, the revival of his pure consciousness and counteraction of the tendency to forget his eternal relationship with the Lord can follow simultaneously. As soon as this forgetfulness is removed, the Vyavasaya Buddhi, as mentioned here and in the Bhagavad Gita 2.41, follows at once. This ascertained knowledge of the living being leads to loving service to the Lord, which the living being requires. The kingdom of God is unlimited, therefore the number of the assisting hands of the Lord is also unlimited. The Bhagavad Gita 13.14 asserts that the Lord has his hands, legs, eyes and mouths in every nook and corner of his creation. This means that the expansions of differentiated parts and parcels, called jivas or living entities, are assisting hands of the Lord, and all of them are meant for rendering a particular pattern of service to the Lord. The conditioned soul, even in the position of Brahma, forgets this by the influence of the illusory material energy generated out of false egoism. One can counteract such false egoism by invoking God consciousness. Liberation means getting out of the slumber of forgetfulness and becoming situated in the real loving service of the Lord, as exemplified in the case of Brahma. The service of Brahma is a sample of service in liberation distinguished from the so-called altruistic services full of mistakes and forgetfulness. Liberation is never inaction, but service without human mistakes. Hare Krishna.
So Brahmaji has just woken up and Brahmaji forgets. Brahmaji does not have memory of previous days' creation. So how will Brahmaji start creation? So first Brahmaji meditates on the Supreme Lord. Just as creation was there before annihilation, so Brahmaji, by fixing the mind on the Supreme Lord, he understood and Brahmaji regained his lost consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada saying that Brahmaji being living entity like we all, therefore he also forgets. And Prabhupada said that this chance of revival is available in human form. If human beings follow Srimad Bhagavatam, meditate on the universal form, then it is possible to revive the relationship. Now, some in the assembly may think that why is Parikshit Maharaj not reading Vedas to get promoted to heavenly planets? Therefore, Sukdev Goswami speaks verse number 2. Vimal Prabhu, verse number 2 translation, chapter 2. We cannot hear you. Vimal Prabhu, you can fix your voice setting and we'll get you to read again. Pragya can read chapter 2, verse 2 translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Chapter 2, text 2. The way of presentation of the Vedic sounds is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdom. The conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly illusory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. Hare Krishna.
So, Vedic ways of fruitive activities is misleading, meaning the worship of demigods is useless. Vedas talk about karma kanda activities. And Sukadeva Goswami is saying they are in a dream because even if they get to heaven, they don't get the benefit of human life. Bhagavad Gita says Vedas describing about heaven is not giving them eternal shelter. Therefore, is useless because heaven is also temporary in this temporary world. And therefore, here the karma kanda or the fruitive activities is condemned. So, how do you explain this to ordinary people? That the Vedic ways of fruitive activities is misleading, that demigod worship is useless. How do you explain this to somebody? And the answer is in Bhagavad Gita 7.23, the verse says, Antvat phalam tesham, that there is a beginning, there is an end for whatever is happening in the material world. Plus, it is temporary, it's insignificant and temporary. This is how you explain by quoting scriptures. Pragya will read verse 2 purport.
Ji Prabhuji. Purport. The conditioned soul is always engaged in laying out plans for happiness within the material world, even up to the end of the universal limit. He is not even satisfied with the available amenities on this planet Earth, where he has exploited the resources of nature to the best of his ability. He wants to go to the moon or planet Venus to exploit resources there. But the Lord has warned us in the Bhagavad Gita 8.16 about the worthlessness of all the innumerable planets of this universe, as well as those planets within other systems. There are innumerable universes and also innumerable planets in each of them, but none of them is immune to the chief miseries of material existence, namely the pangs of birth and the pangs of death, the pangs of old age, and the pangs of disease. The Lord says that even the topmost planet, known as the Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, and what to speak of other planets like the heavenly planets, is not a happy land for residential purposes due to presence of material pangs, and as above mentioned, conditioned souls are strictly under the laws of fruitive activities, and as such, they sometimes go up to the Brahmaloka and again come down to Patal Loka, as if they were unintelligent children of on a merry-go-round. The real happiness is the kingdom of God, where no one has to undergo the pangs of material existence. Therefore, the Vedic way of fruitive activities for the living entities are misleading. One thinks of superior ways of life in this country or that, on this planet or another, but nowhere in the material world can he fulfill his real desires of life, namely eternal life, full intelligence, and complete bliss. Indirectly, Srila Sukadev Goswami affirms that Maharaj Parikshit, in the last stage of life, should not desire to transfer himself to the so-called heavenly planets, but should prepare himself for going back home, back to Godhead. None of the material planets, nor the amenities available there for living conditions, is everlasting. Therefore, one must have a factual reluctance to enjoy such temporary happiness as they afford. Hare Krishna.
So we read that people in the material world are unintelligent children, as if on a merry-go-round, that sometimes they go up to the heavenly planets, then come down to earth or go down to Patal, and they keep circulating. Our dear Mother Jija had also drawn a drawing on this merry-go-round for unintelligent children or unintelligent people of this material world. Prabhupada says, nowhere in material world can one fulfill his desire of happiness, even all the way to the topmost planet of Brahmaloka. And Sukadeva Goswami is saying to Parikshit Maharaj, not to desire for heaven, because heaven is also temporary and miserable. Rather, prepare to go back home to Godhead. Demigod worship to attain heaven is like unintelligent children on a merry-go-round. Questions, comments, realizations so far? Mayank Prabhu, verse 3 translation.
Hare
Archana has
Krishna.
a question.
Yeah, I have a question. In the text one, when you said when Brahmaji awakened, so he forget everything what he created. So it's happened on a daily, means like what we did yesterday, again next day we do our sadhana, and then okay. So that's in the Brahmaji, every day he has to go through that, Prabhuji.
Yeah, you are correct.
Okay.
That every day of Brahmaji, a new creation starts. Means every night of Brahmaji, there is partial annihilation. New creation as in creation happens after the partial annihilation, but Brahmaji forgets. And every day he has to start his process of meditation again. I mean, we all can also visualize that we do remember something, but not everything. When we sleep, we are in a slumber. Forget everything.
Yeah, because it is material too, right? The creation is material.
Correct.
So yeah, got it. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Mayank Prabhu, verse number 3 translation.
Hare Krishna. For this reason, the enlightened person should endeavor only for the minimum necessities of life while in the world of names. He should be intelligently fixed and never endeavor for unwanted things, being competent to perceive practically that all such endeavors are merely hard labor for nothing.
So when I identify with the material world, then my intelligence cannot be fixed on Supreme Lord. Therefore, whatever is required, bare minimum, to keep my body and soul together, that's what one should accept. Hence, we perform activities in the world not to enjoy, but to keep the body and soul together. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, a prominent Acharya in disciplic succession, has nicely commented here that a sign of not being mad after sense gratification is that the sadhaka is very careful and conscious of what he will attain with his sadhana. Even though there may be impediments, still he is not disturbed in executing his sadhana and devotional service. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that sadhaka says that whatever happens, let it happen. I have decided to continue my Krishna consciousness. Now this, of course, is highly advanced stage of Krishna consciousness. Now in verse number 4 and 5 are strong statements, and I will ask you a question very, very soon on, as soon as we continue these verses. Matan Prabhu, 4 and 5 translations.
Hare Krishna. When there are ample earthly flats to lie on, what is the necessity of cots and beds? When one can use his own arms, what is the necessity of a pillow? When one can use the palms of his hands, what is the necessity of variety of utensils? When there is ample covering for the skins of trees, what is the necessity of clothing? Text 5. And are there no torn clothes lying on the common road? Do the trees which exist for maintaining others no longer give alms in charity? Do the rivers being dried up no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountains now closed? Or above all, does the Almighty Lord not protect the fully surrendered souls? Why then do the learned sages go to the flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth?
So, Sukadeva Goswami says, why do you require a soft bed when earth is available? Your arms can be pillows. So sannyasi generally would not complain. He will sleep anywhere. So sadhu is satisfied with clothes lying on the street. And Sukadeva Goswami is angrily saying, have trees stopped giving food? Why do you have to work so hard to earn food? So the point here is that whatever is bare minimum required to keep your body and soul together, just work on that. Don't increase your involvement in the material world unnecessarily. Don't waste time in accumulating unnecessarily bodily comforts. Rather, use your time in Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada says that all these so-called comforts, they are not helpful for progressive civilization. So here's a question for all of you. So the points explained here in this verse 4 and 5, that why do you need a bed? Can you not just sleep on earth with your arms as pillows? Why do you need to work to get clothes? There are torn clothes lying on the street. Why do you have to work for food? Trees give you fruits. Can any one of you follow any one of these steps?
No, Prabhuji.
Rest of you, you are silent. Does that mean you are able to follow?
No, Prabhu, was thinking that this is not very practical, can decrease attachments, but I mean, for comfort living, but I don't think I could go to the basic bare minimum.
Yeah, but the Bhagavatam is saying this. So how do you understand this? Rest of you, you stayed silent. Can you do any of these points?
Yeah, I follow one of that. I am sleeping on the floor, not on the bed anymore.
Okay, very good. Rest of you? Well, you have silence. I don't know what silence means. Vimal Prabhu, we still cannot hear you. You can disconnect and connect again, please. So understand that all these restrictions are generally applicable for a sannyasi. Grahastha can have some comforts in life, not become too much comfortable. You can have some comforts, can live a simple life, like how Matan Prabhu said, sleep on the floor, that's okay. So you still have a house, you still have clothes. Yes, you still have some basic comforts, but this verse number 4 and 5 is specifically for a sannyasi. So you don't have to blindly follow. You have to follow according to your varna and ashram. Everybody on the same page?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Prabhu, the second point that was that, do not increase your involvement in the material world, use most of your time in Krishna consciousness. So, in our day-to-day living, of course, we work to keep our sustenance, but sometimes the responsibility increases, as we are, higher in our position, or it's just it's the way it is in this world, So do we then, but again, I'm sorry, it's duty centric, right? So this is also our duty that we have to accept responsibility, but then there's also the conflict that you don't want to get more materially entangled. Then how do we decide what is right?
Yeah. So even in the Grahastha life, yes, we do not give up our responsibility, but we don't get entangled too much. We don't get emotionally involved. So we have to do Karma Mishra Bhakti. Yeah, we may start with Bhakti Mishra Karma where Karma part is more. And we try to come to Karma Mishra Bhakti where Bhakti part increases more and more. And that solution is described in the next verse number 6, that use your time to meditate on the Lord. So instead of getting emotionally involved or being disturbed by whatever material world throws at you, you learn to tolerate, you learn to live a simple life and try to focus more on Krishna. So let's read verse number 6 and 7, and then we'll come back to Nitya's point if it is not already answered. Nitya is anyway the next one to read. So Nitya, read 6 and 7 translations plus read 7 purport paragraph number 1.
Yes, Prabhu. Text 6. Thus being fixed, one must render service unto the Supersoul situated in one's heart by his omnipotency. Because he is the Almighty Personality of Godhead, eternal and unlimited, he is the ultimate goal of life, and by worshipping him, one can end the cause of the conditioned state of existence. Text 7. Who else but the gross materialist will neglect such transcendental thought and take to the non-permanent names only, seeing the mass of people fallen in the river of suffering as the consequence of accruing the results of their own work. Purport. In the Vedas, it is said that the persons who are attached to demigods to the exclusion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are like the animals who follow the herdsman even though they are taken to the slaughterhouse. The materialists, like animals, also do not know how they are being misdirected by neglecting the transcendental thought of the Supreme Person. No one can remain vacant of thought. It is said that an idle brain is the devil's workshop because a person who cannot think in the right way must think of something which may bring about disaster. The materialists are always worshipping some minor demigod, so this is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita 7.20. As long as the person is illusioned by material gains, he petitions the respective demigods to draw some particular benefit, which is after all illusionary and non-permanent. The enlightened transcendentalist is not captivated by such illusionary things. Therefore, he is always absorbed in the transcendental thought of the Supreme in different stages of realization, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. In the previous verse, it suggested that one should think of the Supersoul, which is one step higher than the impersonal thought of the Brahman, as it was suggested in the case of contemplating the Virat Rupa of the personality of Godhead.
So demigod worship is like animal taken to slaughterhouse. And on the way to slaughterhouse, the animal is given grass, food, etc. Similarly, demigod worship, demigods fulfill desires, but keeps one in the material world, and material world is slaughterhouse. So Sukadeva Goswami is explaining what not to do, that don't worship demigods, because it's like animals taken to slaughterhouse. Nitya, does that answers your point?
Yes, Prabhu. And then one follow-up question. That part was answered. Definitely, I got it, because using time to meditate on the Lord and not to get so entangled, that was so true. Because mind is agitated, I feel I do go back to listening lectures or doing devotional service, which helps so much agitated mind. It's so true. A second follow-up is in this quick process of how to obtain liberation. So contemplate initially the Virat Rupa and then on the Paramatma feature of the Lord. Is that how the rapid process?
Yeah, so although this process does not apply to you all devotees, because you are Bhakti Yogi devotees, the process described here is that for those who are not Bhakti Yogis, process is that you start by using your material world imagination to use material world objects as if they are parts of the body of the universal form of the Lord. And then as your mind becomes purified by these thoughts of spirituality, then you focus on the Paramatma within. So all this process is for Ashtanga yogis or those who are materialistic and they are trying to start somehow. All these processes do not apply to you. Nitya?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Prabhu, then I'm so sorry. This chapter was very difficult to understand. So I have a lot of questions. Then why is Sukhdev Goswami talking about this more when the question to Parikshit Maharaj, who's a pure devotee, so really it didn't even apply to him. He asked for the sake of the common person for everybody else. So then Sukhdev Goswami is describing the Ashtanga Yoga process and in a lot of detail. Is the common man equipped, to do all this? Like even in that time, I'm not talking now, which we absolutely can't, but even that, why didn't he focus on Bhakti Yoga and just say, focus on the God,
Yeah.
not practical?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Very good inquiry. So you are correct that there's a little difficult chapter to understand. And you answer this question that in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna was bewildered in chapter number 1, and in 2.7 he surrendered, he says, I don't know what to do. Did Krishna answer just in one sentence, 18.66? He could have said 18.65 and 66 instead of the whole Bhagavad Gita. What did Krishna answer? Did Krishna say just drop everything and just follow Bhakti Yoga? Nitya, everybody?
No, Prabhu. I think the way I understood, and I hope that's the right answer, in Bhagavad Gita, God shows the various facts and then gives us, the most confidential and the ultimate, which is, 18.66. So I think he laid the groundwork, so I guess I get it now. I can draw the parallels. Thank you.
Yeah, so that same thing is happening here, and multiple devotees in the question answer session, they've asked this same question, that why is Ashtanga Yoga is being described here and in so much detail at a granular level. So understand that most people visualize the yoga ladder. Most people are under the line below the karma kanda. They are living an animalistic lifestyle. And if you answer that do bhakti yoga, they will go, what? What? I'd have to do bhakti yoga? Wow, drop everything? So it's a gradually they come step by step up, and that becomes an easier process for them to come to bhakti yoga instead of saying one statement that drop everything and just focus on bhakti yoga. Well, it doesn't work. They will say, well, this is not practical for me at all. So visualize Bhagavatam, that Bhagavatam is for everyone, not just for bhakti yogis. Bhagavatam is taking basic materialistic people who have no clue about spirituality. And Bhagavatam is even giving them a chance to come to spiritual path. Therefore, chapter 1 is rightly titled, First Step in God Realization is to use your material imagination of thinking these big, big things of the material world as if they are the limbs of the Lord. That way you will start thinking about the Lord, then you come to the next level of Paramatma realization, and then you come to Bhagwan realization. So Bhagavatam gives all levels in a step-by-step process. Now for you all, why this confusion happens is because you already are past a certain stage where you already know that Bhakti Yoga is the easier compared to others and Bhakti Yoga is the best process. Then why do we have to worry about this? Well, we still don't have to skip because we are also preachers. So we can't just tell everybody you are fool number one and just focus on Bhakti Yoga. No, we have to answer according to their level. Nitya, everybody?
Yes, Prabhu, thanks for the clarification. This actually clarifies the whole chapter for me. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's not just this chapter, it's a lot of Canto 2. There's a lot of technical discussion that don't really apply. I already said chapter 2 doesn't apply to you all at all. Very good. So now in verses 8 to 13, the form of the Supreme Lord is described, which is to be meditated by the yogis. So you understand that now a next step is described that, okay, first you are focusing on the universal form. Now you can also focus on the Paramatma, or some may even just focus on the Paramatma, whichever way it works. Not everybody is in a step-by-step process in a one particular life. Divya, 8 to 13 translations are straightforward.
Hare Krishna. Text 8 translation. Others conceive of the personality of Godhead residing within the body in the region of the heart and measuring only 8 inches, with 4 hands carrying a lotus, a wheel of a chariot, a conch shell, and a club respectively. Text 9. His mouth expresses his happiness, his eyes spread like the petals of a lotus, and his garments, yellowish like the saffron of a kadamba flower, are bedecked with valuable jewels. His ornaments are all made of gold, set with jewels, and he wears a glowing headdress and earrings. Text 10. His lotus feet are placed over the walls of the lotus-like hearts of great mystics. On his chest is the Kaustubha jewel, engraved with a beautiful calf, and there are other jewels on his shoulders. His complete torso is garlanded with fresh flowers. Text 11. He is well decorated with an ornamental wreath about his waist and rings studded with valuable jewels on his fingers. His leglets, his bangles, his oiled hair, curling with a bluish tint, and his beautiful smiling face are all very pleasing. Text 12. The Lord's magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glancing of his smiling face are all indications of his extensive benedictions. One must therefore concentrate on this transcendental form of the Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation. Text 13. The process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress to his smiling face. Meditation should be concentrated upon the lotus feet, then the calves, then the thighs, and in this way, higher and higher. The more the mind becomes fixed upon the different parts of the limbs, one after the other, the more the intelligence becomes purified.
So, verse 13 describes how to meditate, starting from the lotus feet and going up little by little of each part of the body. And we have discussed this. Our Siksha Guru, His Grace Bhakti Yoga Prabhu, has also described us the same point on how to take darshan. Now, these verses have the description of the Paramatma, and throughout Bhagavatam, the Lord appears in front of various devotees, and they have almost similar description because it's the same Lord appearing again and again. Therefore, the descriptions are almost identical in various parts of Srimad Bhagavatam as we continue. So a question may come up that Paramatma description is given that he is 8-inch size. That's the form of Paramatma. And it is important that it's in the region of the heart, not in the heart. So the Paramatma, the super soul, is just outside the heart. Therefore, when the heart transplant happens, well, the super soul continues in the old body, and the other person who's getting the new heart, the original super soul stays in his body. Now, how do you understand that this 8-inch size of the super soul? We have living entities in much smaller size than 8 inches. The answer is that because scriptures are bewildering, therefore no one takes to Krishna consciousness. So we don't have to try to capture the Lord with limited ways. So this 8-inch size of the Lord is just one of the description. There are many other ways the Lord is present in other living entities. So it's proportional. So if somebody is like an ant, size is small, so the Paramatma will also be proportionately small. So we don't have to capture the Lord with just a limited understanding that we may have. Now, this description is for our consciousness. Other scriptures have described the Lord differently because Lord is unlimited. So the 8-inch size is for yogi to meditate. Although the Lord is unlimited, Lord is not just of the size of 8 inches. It's just for a yogi to meditate upon. So we don't have to try to limit God with one particular statement. Krishna is unlimited. Therefore, there are different explanations given. Questions, comments, realizations? All right. So now the verses will describe the practices and the processes for a yogi, the instant process of liberation. Now understand that this is for impersonalists who do not have clear understanding of the form of the Lord. For you all devotees who already know the form, qualities, pastimes, etc., hence you all follow the process of devotional service, the Bhakti Yoga process. We are just reading these chapters just because Sukadeva Goswami has spoken these chapters. Now, just as previously some in the assembly were thinking about heaven, and therefore Sukadeva Goswami answered about heaven being temporary and insignificant. Now, some in assembly may be thinking that why devotional service, given the utmost importance, because in Vedas, there are other processes also. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami is describing that by following Astanga Yoga, one can achieve liberation. But Astanga Yoga is not the process to follow in Kali Yuga. Therefore, we will just do a quick read of the verses from this point onwards. Archana, 14 to 17 translations.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Text 14. Unless the gross materialistic developed a sense of loving service unto the Supreme Lord, the seer of both the transcendental and the material world, he should remember or meditate upon the universal form of the Lord at the end of his prescribed duty. Verse 15, text 15. O king, whenever the yogi desire to leave his planet of human being, he should not be perplexed about the proper time or a place, but should comfortably sit without being disturbed, and regulating the life air should control the sense by the mind. Text 16. Thereafter, the yogi should merge his mind by his unalloyed intelligence into the living entity, and then merge the living entity into the supersoul. And by doing this, the fully satisfied living entity became situated in the supreme stage of satisfaction, so that he ceases from all other activities ceases. Text 17. In that transcendental state of labdhopasanti, there is no super mercy of devastation time, which control even the celestial demigod who are empowered to rule over mundane creatures. And what to speak of demigod themselves? Nor is there the mode of material goodness, nor passion, nor ignorance, nor even the false ego, nor the material casual ocean, nor the material nature. Hare Krishna.
Archana, continue 18 to 21 also.
18 to 21. Text 18. The transcendentalist desire to avoid everything godless, for they know the supreme situation in which everything is related with the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, a pure devotee who is absolute harmony with the Lord does not create perplexity, but the worship the lotus feet of a Lord at every moment, taking them into his heart. Text 19. By the strength of satisfied knowledge, one should
Scientific.
By the strength of scientific knowledge, one should be well situated in absolute realization and thus be able to extinguish all the material desire. One should then give up the material body by blocking the air hole through which the stool is evacuated with the heel of one foot, by the lifting the life air from one place to another in the 6 primary places. Text 20. The meditative devotee should slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart, from there to the chest, and from there to the root of the palate. He should search out the proper places with intelligence. Text 21. Thereafter, the Bhakti yogi should push the life air up between the eyebrow and then blocking the 7 outlet of life air. He should maintain his aim for going back home, back to Godhead. If he is completely free from all desire of material enjoyment, he should then reach the cerebral hole and give up his material connection, having gone to the Supreme. 22.
So understand that this Astanga Yoga process, of course, it's in Satyug. This still is Bhakti Yoga. It's just that in Satyug time, people had lifespan of almost 100,000 years or so. So they were able to follow this process. But the last line that we read, that he has no connection with material world. He's trying to go back to the Supreme following the Astanga Yoga process. So he's still trying Bhakti Yoga via Astanga Yoga process. This yogi being described has no intent to go to heaven or to go to Brahmaloka or go to attain some siddhis. No, he's trying Ashtanga Yoga to go back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, until verse number 21 is the instant process of liberation, where the yogi is clear about his destination, that he wants to go back home, back to Godhead, and he has nothing to do with the material world. He's just trying to take the soul out of the body and go to Godhead. And then from subsequent verses, from 22 onwards, another yogi is described who is interested to see how planet of Brahmaji is, how demigods are enjoying in heaven, or he wants to attain some siddhis. So such a yogi, yes, he is also following Ashtanga Yoga, but he has all these material desires. He takes with him his materially molded mind and senses, means his mind and senses are going with him. Therefore, from verse number 22 onwards to 31, describes the gradual process of liberation. I will pause here. Everybody crystal clear so far?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So my question is now here, like they are more focusing on Vishnu. So if any Vishnu devotee means say that Krishna is not a supreme, Vishnu is a supreme, are they doing a blasphemy there, Prabhu?
So they are not doing blasphemy. They just don't have complete information. So you show them scriptural references. Is described in Krishna book in chapter 1. It should be in the first 2-3 pages where the whole hierarchy is described, that Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead and all incarnations come from Krishna, including Vishnu, as well as is also described in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. So you just have to clarify to them. They just don't have the information. Archana?
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Nitya?
Prabhu, is Labdo Pasanti a state of bliss that's applicable? I'm not talking in the process of Ashtanga Yoga, but is that a state that anyone can attain? Because when you read in the purport in great detail, it seems where you directly are in communion with the Lord. So the Lord is actually directing you. You know, it says you stop to be the seer and you're seen by the Lord. So to me, when I was reading that, I understood, and this is just reading and understanding, that this is a state you want to get to, right? Where the Lord sees you, you're communicating with the Lord, following his direction.
Yeah, you are correct. So understand that Ashtanga Yoga is a valid process in Satyug. And yeah, they will have this direct connection with the Lord if somebody is following Ashtanga Yoga properly. And there are many examples in Bhagavatam which we'll discuss, that many have attained perfection following Ashtanga Yoga, such as Dhruv Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj. There are many other examples. So yes, it is possible to get the direct connection with the Lord by Ashtanga Yoga.
Prabhu, that it also follows that in our Bhakti Yoga process also our goal is that, right? So we're trying to reach this state. So I was just saying, if the state of Labdo Prasanti, the stage of full bliss, is actually applicable in Bhakti Yoga, any yogas, because that's our ultimate goal, right?
Yeah. In Bhakti Yoga, our ultimate goal is to do service. Byproduct is whatever satisfaction you get, that's a byproduct. Our goal is to just do services.
Thank you.
All right. So as I described, that up till verse number 21 was the instant process, and now from 22 to 31 onwards is the gradual process where the yogi is wanting to go to Brahmaloka or to heaven or attain siddhis. All right. Vimal Prabhu, let's see if we can hear you now. 22 to 26 translations.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
Text 22. However, O king, if a yogi maintain a desire for improved material enjoyment like transfer to the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, or the achievement of the eightfold perfection, travel in outer space with the Vyasas, or a situation in one of the millions of planets, then he has to take away with him the materially mold mind and senses. Text 23. The transcendentalists are concerned with the spiritual body. As such, by the strength of their devotional service, austerities, mystic power, and transcendental knowledge, their movements are unrestricted. Within the beyond the material world, their fruitive workers or the gross materialistic can never move in such a unrestricted manner. Text 24. O king, when such a mystic passes over the Milky Way by the il- illuminating Susama to reach the highest planet, Brahmaloka, he goes first to Vaishnavaran, the planet of the deities of fire, wherein he becomes completely cleans of all contaminations, and thereafter he still goes higher to the circle of Sisumara to relate with the Lord Hari, the personality of Godhead. Text 25. The Sisumaras is the pivot for the turning of the complete universe, and it is called the navel of Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu. In yogi alone goes beyond this circle of Sisumara and attains the planet Maharloka, where purified saint like Bhrigu enjoys a duration of life of four four I guess million
4.3, yeah, 4.3 billion solar years.
4.3 billion solar years. This planet is versatile even for saints who are transcendentally situated. Text 26. At the time of the final devastation of the complete universe, the end of the duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta, from the bottom of the universe. The yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes, and thus he leaves for Satyaloka by air, airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satyaloka is calculated to be the 15 15
It's a pretty long. It's probably 155 trillion years.
100 15 480 trillion years. Probably 27 as well.
So, yeah, you will continue reading, but let me explain. So you understand that in all these verses, that the yogi is trying to go to different planets, one after the other, because he has the desire to see all this. Yes, he's also trying to get purified simultaneously, but he also has these desires. Yeah, Vimal Prabhu, continue 27 to 32.
27. In the planet of Satyaloka, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind, and therefore there is no anxieties, save that sometime. Due to the consciousness, there is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotional service who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world. Text 28. After reaching Satyaloka, the devotees is especially able to be incorporated fearlessly by the still body in an identity similar to that of the gross body, and one after another, he gradually attains stages of existence from earthly to watery, fiery, glowing, and airy, until he reaches the eternal stage. Text 29. The devotee thus surpasses the still object of different senses like aroma by smelling, the plates by tasting, vision by seeing, forms, touch by contacting, the vibration of the ear by ethereal identification, and the sense organs by material activities. Text 30. The devotee thus surpass the gross and the subtle form of covering entire the planes of egoism, and in that status he merged the material modes of nature, ignorance and passion, in this point of neutralization, and thus reaches egoism in goodness. After this, all egoism is merged into the Mahatattva, and he comes to the point of pure self-realization. Text 31. Only the purified soul can attain the perfection of associating with the personality of Godhead in complete bliss and satisfaction in his constitutional state. Whoever is able to renovate such devotional perfection is never again attracted by this material world and is never returns. Text 32. Your mystic Majesty Maharaj Parikshit knew that all that I have described in reply to your proper inquiry is just according to the versions of the Vedas, and it is eternal truth. This was described personally by Lord Krishna unto Brahma, with whom the Lord was satisfied upon being properly worshipped. Hare Krishna.
Right, so there are all these steps that the yogi goes through to the various planetary system because he wants to see everything. So in verse 27, we read one important point that there are no anxieties at Brahmaloka except the anxiety that when yogi sees how people are suffering because of karma, and out of compassion, they think of these people and how to help them elevate. This is the only anxiety at Brahmaloka. Otherwise, it's a very comfortable place. Of course, it's still subject to 4 miseries of Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. Shivangi?
It's nothing, Prabhu. I just looked up the number in text 26 because I want to know what it was. 15.48 trillion years. The
Yeah.
duration of life in Satya Yoga.
Yeah, it's a very long time. So as I said that it's a long time frame. We don't have to worry about that long time frame. The point is that even Brahmaloka is temporary. We have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita 8.17 that Brahmaji's life of 311 trillion years seems spectacular, but that also is insignificant. But thank you for looking that up. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Questions, comments, realizations on the instant and the gradual process?
Prabhu, one question. So, for the Bhakti Yogi, the process at the end of it would be stepwise too, because purification happens as the Astanga Yogi passes through different planetary systems as he reaches the highest level. And then once he's completely purified, he's completely devoid of all the modes, then he is able to serve the Lord. So, what happens with the Bhakti Yogi?
What happens as in? What's your question?
Will they also need to do this stepwise? I'm sure it follows somewhere in Bhagavatam coming up.
Yeah, it's next verses onward. So Bhakti yogis don't have to follow all these step-by-step process. They can directly elevate themselves to Goloka Vrindavan directly.
So when the gross and subtle and I think there is a process, right? Prabhu, you have described something before where the soul, I think it's a very complicated process you explained, whether I think something gets merged into the Mahatattva and all that, but that's coming up later, right? I'm sure there's something.
Yeah, so I've described earlier, you are correct that when the devotee is going back home, back to Godhead, he leaves all these material things in to be merged with the Mahatattva, and so only his purified soul is going. Soul is anyway purified. It's just that his consciousness is getting purified. So when the devotee is going back home, back to Godhead, so he leaves the body in the pile of the bodies in the Mahatattva, leaves the mind separately in a bin, and leaves the intelligence, everything he leaves one after the other, and just goes back home, back to Godhead. Nitya.
Thank
So verse number 33 onwards is sadhana bhakti or devotional service as the best path that is described. Shivangi, 33, 34 translations.
Text 33. For those who are wandering in the material universe, there is no more auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at in the direct devotional service of Lord Krishna. Text 34. The great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times, and after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion. Hare Krishna.
So Brahmaji, he is the most intelligent and the first living being. He studied Vedas 3 times. Then he came to the conclusion of that devotional service is the highest. So we don't have to worry about all these details. Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami is saying in the next verse number 35 that Lord Hari is in the heart of all, and one can simply work to realizing the Lord within the heart. Pragya, 35 translation and purport. You read first about 8 lines. I will stop you.
Hare Krishna. Text 35. The personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, is in every living being along with the individual soul. And this fact is perceived by and hypothesized in our acts of seeing and taking help from the intelligence. Purport. The general argument for the common man is that since the Lord is not visible to our eyes, how can one either surrender unto him or render transcendental loving service unto him? To such a common man, here is a practical suggestion given by Srila Sukadeva Goswami as to how one can perceive the Supreme Lord by reason and perception. Actually, the Lord is not perceivable by our present materialized senses, but when one is convinced of the presence of Lord by a practical service attitude, there is a revelation by the Lord's mercy, and such a pure devotee of the Lord can perceive the Lord's presence always and anywhere and
Right.
everywhere.
So by devotional service, one can perceive the Lord's presence anywhere and everywhere when the Lord reveals. Everybody with me? Questions, comments, realizations? And therefore, verse number 36 comes. Let's read 36. Mayank Prabhu, 36 translation.
Hare Krishna. O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. Purport as well?
No. Right. So therefore he says he is now coming to Bhakti Yoga, the sadhana bhakti. That conclusion is that one should remember the Lord always, see the Lord everywhere and anywhere. So I already answered this at the end of Canto 2, that I briefly answered the answer to Parikshit Maharaj's question, what one should chant and remember. This answer in verse number 36 is there throughout Srimad Bhagavatam. But essentially, this is the answer. Questions, comments, realizations? All right. Archana will read 37 translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Those who drink the oral reception fully filled with the nectarium message of the Lord Krishna. The beloved of devotee purify the polluted aim of life known as a material enjoyment and thus go back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of Him, the personality of a Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Divya, purport paragraph 137.
Hare Krishna. Text 37 purport. The sufferings of human society are due to a polluted aim of life, namely lording it over the material resources. The more human society engages in the exploitation of undeveloped material resources for sense gratification, the more it will be entrapped by the illusory material energy of the Lord, and thus the distress of the world will be intensified instead of diminished. The human necessities of life are fully supplied by the Lord in the shape of food, grains, milk, fruit, wood, stone, sugar, silk, jewels, cotton, salt, water, vegetables, etc., in sufficient quantity to feed and care for the human race of the world, as well as the living beings on each and every planet within the universe. The supply source is complete, and only a little energy by the human being is required to get his necessities into the proper channel. There is no need of machines and tools or huge steel plants for artificially creating comforts of life. Life was never made comfortable by artificial needs, but by plain living and high thinking. The highest perfectional thinking for human society is suggested here by Sukadeva Goswami, namely sufficiently hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. For men in this age of Kali, when they have lost the perfect vision of life, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the torchlight by which to see the real path. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada has commented on the Katamritam mentioned in this verse and has indicated Srimad Bhagavatam to be the nectarian message of the personality of Godhead. By sufficient hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, the polluted aim of life, namely lording it over matter, will subside, and the people in general, in all parts of the world, will be able to live a peaceful life of knowledge and bliss.
So we read that there is no need for this machine and tools for artificially creating comforts. We have to live a simple life and use time in high thinking. And therefore, he says the perfect way to live life is to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And by this hearing process, my polluted desires of material enjoyment become purified. So everybody has already read. Whosoever wants to read from paragraph number 2 till end, quickly please.
I can read.
Go ahead, Matan Prabhu.
For a devotee of the Lord, any topic in
Prabhu,
relation to
Matan Prabhu, the voice is not clear. It has a lot of echo. Vimal Prabhu, read please.
A pure devotee of the Lord, any topics in relation with his name, fame, quality, and entourage, etc., are all pleasing. And because such topics have been approved by great devotees like Narada, Hanuman, Narada Maharaj, Nanda Maharaj, and other inhabitants of Vrindavan. Certainly, such messages are transcendental and pleasing to the heart and soul, and by the constant hearing of the message of the Bhagavad Gita and later Srimad Bhagavatam, one is assured hearing by Srila Sukadeva Goswami that he will reach the personality of Godhead and render him transcendental loving services in the spiritual planet of the name Gokula Vrindavan, which resembles a huge lotus flower. Thus, by the process of Bhakti Yoga, directly accepted as suggested in this verse, by sufficient hearing of the transcendental message of the Lord, the material contamination is directly eliminated without one's attempting to contemplate the impersonal Virat conception of the Lord. And by practicing Bhakti Yoga, if the performer is not purified from the material contamination, he must be pseudo devotee, for such an impostor there is no remedy for being freed from material entanglements. Thus,
So
the end of
Srila Prabhupada gives the conclusion that a devotee in Krishna consciousness, you don't waste time on Virat Rup. Just engage in devotional service to go back home to Godhead, and we will be free from material entanglement. So I already mentioned this at the start of our discussion, that don't worry about all these discussion in this chapter 2 as well as some other chapters coming up as well in chapter 1 also. Don't worry about all these. Don't worry about all these technical things described in this chapter 2, chapter 1, few more chapters. Simply serve spiritual master, serve Gopinath and devotees, chant Hare Krishna, and everything will be all right. Questions, comments, realizations? Matan Prabhu?
So like I was one question.
Your
So
voice
many
is,
people-
there's still a lot of echo. You want to disconnect and connect again, please?
Okay.
The rest of you, questions, comments, realizations?
Very good question.
Yeah.
Earlier, you were asking about if we can or can't do those practices, but isn't it doing that is considered as a Hatha Yoga?
So Hatha Yoga is generally focused on bodily exercise only. But here Ashtanga Yogi, he is trying to meditate. Ashtanga Yoga is not Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is just those who do exercises, say gym, etc.
Thank you, Prabhu.
All right. Matan Prabhu has just rejoined. Matan Prabhu, ask your question.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Perfect.
Okay, so I just want to ask something. So many people around the world are poor, and they are, many of them are below the poverty line. They are trying to get by. How can we say they are trying to exploit or lording it over material resources? Like, they are suffering,
Yeah, they are suffering, but they are still not wanting to go back home, back to Godhead. They still have the desire to enjoy in the material world. If you ask a beggar, and you give him some prasadam, I have myself given prasadam to beggar, and he says, no, I want money because he wants to smoke. That's what he wants to lord it over. He wants to enjoy a particular component of material nature. So he still wants to lord it over. Lord it over does not mean that he has to become the richest person. Whatever be the enjoyment mentality, that is lording it over.
Yeah, also the children's, they don't, children's like below 12 or 18, they don't have any, knowledge of lording it over. They're also
For sure, they have lording it over. Therefore, they want to play. If you ask children to study, they will say, no, I am interested in playing. Right? So this enjoying mentality is there in everyone, no matter what the age is, no matter what the life is.
Okay, thank you.
Prabhu just wanted to point out children really want to enjoy, even babies. They want food, they want candy, they want toys, they want the cell phone. So they want to.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of second canto, second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Lord in the Heart. Spiritual endeavor questions. Number 1. How does one purify the polluted aim of life? Comes from verse 37. Second is an analogy. As a person feels his hunger satisfied after eating, similarly, he must be able to see the degree to which he has been freed from sex desire. Comes from verse number 12. And third, for next class, read Canto 2, entire chapter 3, 25 verses. I will, of course, send Google form for you to populate striking points and inquiries as well. Okay.
Prabhuji, can you please repeat the questions?
Question number 1. How does one purify the polluted aim of life? Comes from verse 37. Second is an analogy. As a person feels his hunger satisfied after eating, similarly, he must be able to see the degree to which he has been freed from sex desire. From verse number 12. Third, read Canto 2, entire chapter 3 for the next class. All right, I will now bring up inquiries on the screen. Nitya is going to answer question number 1 and 10. So Nitya, read the question and then answer, and then you'll also read 10 and then answer.
Yes, Prabhu. Question 1. Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form is Kalpita, equal to imaginary, and we are expected to connect with all objects we see with the Lord. How do we actually worship? By serving the Shyam Sundar form or by connecting with the imaginary universal form? Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.38 describes universal form as Kalpita. So it's an imaginary concept, but this is a tool for the materialistic person who are unable to accept the personal feature of the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 9.11, Lord Krishna says, less intelligent people with a poor fund of knowledge cannot accept the inconceivable potency of Lord Krishna by which he appears as a human being. The mind of the materialistic man is flickering and constantly changing from one aspect to another. By focusing on the universal form, one can enhance one's spiritual focus through material imagination. So this is the first step in God realization for a materialistic person who has not associated with the personal form of the Lord. For all devotees, whether a neophyte or a pure devotee, or from a neophyte to a pure devotee, who is attached to the personal feature of Lord Krishna, worship of the Shyam Sundar form is perfect. This is a reference, Bhagavad Gita 12.2. Lord Krishna, in answering Arjuna's question, says that he who concentrates on his personal form and worships him with faith and devotion is most perfect.
Nitya will also answer number 10.
So, question 10 is in the similar way. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the Virat Rupa for those who are unable to accept the personal form. Is the Srimad Bhagavatam's Virat Rupa for those who are unable to accept the personal form? And the answer is yes, it is the first step in God realization for those people who are not able to or have not still, attached, have the concept of attachment to the personal form of the Lord. Can those who have accepted the personal form skip this process of concentrating the mind on him? I think again it follows in the vein that for all devotees, neophyte to a pure devotee who is attached to the personal feature of Lord Krishna, worship of the Shyam Sundar form is perfect. And there is one thing that definitely for all devotees it still applies. Connecting everything we see in our material world to the Supreme Lord actually keeps Lord at the center of our day-to-day life, helps us remember him 24/7. So instead of thinking we need to skip this process, we can think of we're seeing Lord everywhere and everything. So we are keeping him at the center for in our lives 24/7.
Okay, any questions, comments, realizations for Nitya? Does those two questions got answered? I don't know what silence means, but okay. Matan Prabhu is going to answer number 11.
Okay, the question is, are the Brahmanas in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.37 verse the second initiated devotees? The answer is no. Srimad Bhagavatam verse 2.1.27 does not refer to the second initiated. Therefore, can be any Brahmana. As per Bhagavad Gita 18.42, the Brahmana is based on qualities and duties, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, self-control, guiding society, and Brahmana is not by birth. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Does that answer question number 11 as well? So, Nitya, you want to share your experience of trying to find this answer, and then Matan Prabhu can also share?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. So I think that it was helpful to start thinking about the questions. You had posted it on Monday, or at least I saw it Monday evening. And so in the process, as I was revising the chapter 1 and reading chapter 2, I kept going back to the question. And then I would think about the answer. And then I also was trying to find the answer in the chapters I was reading, and also reference back to Bhagavad Gita. So it helped me because I was thinking about the way to, the answer and thinking more about it. And in my daily reading, I was focusing more on those questions. And also when I had time, I would think. But there was one thing, it was a very, very busy week. And I really thought that I didn't even put my name on the paper. Like every evening I would think, I'm not going to be able to do this. I don't know if I could do this. It may be Saturday when I get to this. But somehow, Lord Krishna's mercy, I guess he saw that I was trying to endeavor. On Thursday evening, I just had time. And that's the first time I wrote the answer, and I also put my name. And I was like so happy that somehow there was that time. So I really think that when you try, then God blesses you to, complete it successfully.
Very good. So when you try, Krishna will give the intelligence from within. He says in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Tadami Bhakti Yogam Tam. So absolutely correct. And what was Nitya doing? She was continuously thinking about the question while she was doing her day-to-day activities. She was remembering Krishna without even realizing. Very good. Matan Prabhu?
Yeah, same as Nitya said. I was also wanted to see the inquiries, and I was happy to see. And I myself didn't have any inquiries, so I then went back and thought about what to write, and then I picked a verse, and from there I was able to come up with my own inquiry. And I wanted to answer something very simple, so I went through the inquiries and picked this number 11. I shared my answer with the Prabhuji, and then he corrected my answer. Thank you. So that's a lot of learning for me.
Okay, very good. So Matan Prabhu did connect with me, and then I gave him multiple verses to read through. So what happened? Both of us were doing Krishna Katha. We are not doing chit chat at all. And he's reading some verses, I'm giving him more verses. So Krishna Katha leads to more Krishna Katha. Very good. Thank you, both of you, for attempting and providing the correct answers as well. Thank you.
Prabhu,
So,
I did want to add, I did connect with you. I mean, I got your guidance because, ultimately I wanted to add that also really, really helped me.
yeah, so it's initially, there may be little hand holding required, but you all will soon be able to answer as long as you attempt. It's only two of you started, others can also start. I will bring up the Google Excel on screen shortly after we finish answering. So I will answer rest of the inquiries. So question number 2 is Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.15 to 39 discusses Ashtanga Yoga for attaining liberation. Why this? When we know the service of path of yoga ladder is the fast track path. Is the practice of bhakti close to end of life, timing of which we do not know, different? As well as question number 3 is similar. That why does Sukdev Goswami describe meditation on Omkara and mystic yoga as the initial process to cleanse the mind? Was this the required process applicable to common man at the time it was spoken? So we already discussed the answer to these two questions in chapter 2. Therefore, I said chapter 2 will make the answers easier to follow. So in Satyuga, Ashtanga Yoga is the process to follow. It still is Bhakti Yoga, but the physical abilities allow them to follow Ashtanga Yoga. And few examples in Srimad Bhagavatam, such as Dhruv Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj, that devotees followed Ashtanga Yoga to attain perfection. Now, it is not that Ashtanga Yoga by these devotees was performed towards end of their life. No. Dhruv Maharaj was only 5 years of age when he attained perfection by following Ashtanga Yoga. So we have discussed at our yoga-led discussion and in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 that Ashtanga Yoga is not the process in Kali Yuga. Towards end of life, when devotees forced to give up all activities, devotees have the choice to take the path of Ashtanga Yoga. But for ISKCON devotees, their Bhakti Yoga is so mature that they just continue Bhakti Yoga of remembering Krishna up to the very last moment of their life. Does that answer these inquiries?
Ji,
Yes,
Prabhuji, and
Prabhu.
the reading of chapter 2 really helped, and they answered as you mentioned these queries.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 4. Everything is energy of the Lord. So why thinking Srimad Bhagavatam universal form relating material world manifestation to Lord's form is unreal? So we have discussed this at great length that Srimad Bhagavatam universal form is just a concept to let common materialistic persons move their material imagination towards spirituality. So Srimad Bhagavatam universal form does not exist. It is just a concept so as to get common people thinking on the path of spirituality. So, and question number 5 is also similar. I mean, we already answered something to these questions in chapter 2 today as well. Question number 5 says, if Srimad Bhagavatam universal form is completely unreal, then any material object can be related to any body part of the Lord. Why this specific description of universal form? So understand that common people have liking for big things like big shapes or big buildings or big mountains, whatever. And Srimad Bhagavatam is using their natural imagination to link to Lord's conceptual universal form. Does that answer these questions as well?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. Question number 6. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.15 purport says, the best type of body is spiritual body, which is obtained by those who go back to the kingdom of God or enter the realm of Brahman. Question is, please explain how one entering Brahman is in the best type of body. Should our goal be to go back to Godhead or to enter Brahman? Anybody remembers Bhagavad Gita verse Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma? Anybody can find the verse from Bhagavad Gita quickly? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, Nitya.
18.54, Prabhu.
Very good, thank you. So if you look up Bhagavad Gita 18.54, it says Brahma Bhuta refers to absolute. It doesn't say Brahma Bhuta as Brahman effulgence. So you have to understand the word Brahman according to context. Brahman means spiritual. And according to the context, you have to understand whether it's referring to the soul, whether the word Brahman is referring to the soul, whether the word Brahman is referring to Brahman effulgence, or whether the word Brahman is referring to the absolute. So you have to understand according to the context. So Brahman here in 2.1.15 is not referring to Brahman effulgence, rather is referring to spirituality at the highest level of going back to the kingdom of God. Therefore, is actually saying, go back to kingdom of God. And Prabhupada says, or enter Brahman is one and the same point. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. Question number 7. Even after learning that only a single moment of life remained, Maharaj Khatonga achieved perfection and returned to Godhead. In that case, would the demigods who witnessed this also wish to return to spiritual world? So we have discussed this in our demigod worship discussion. I think the Bhagavatam reference should be, I'm going by my contaminated memory, it should be 2.9.12, that demigods are Sakam devotees with material desires. Therefore, most demigods are not interested to go back home to Godhead. Only some demigods want to take birth on earth as a human in Kali Yuga, because demigods can see that chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra for less than 100 years is the shortest path to go back to Godhead. But we also discussed today in Canto 2, Chapter 2, that some yogis are just interested to see all these beautiful things in the material world, and they just keep circulating here. So it depends on which demigod. Not all demigods are interested. Demigods are in heaven because they are wanting to enjoy. They are Sakam devotees. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Question number 8. Srimad Bhagavatam universal form followers and Mayavadis who discuss Lord as impersonal, are these both one and the same? The answer is no. Srimad Bhagavatam universal form followers are materialistic people who have little to no knowledge of spirituality. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is trying to help them turn their material imagination towards spirituality. Mayavadis, they know a lot more about spirituality, about scriptures. Therefore, these two are not the same. Does that answer? Question number 9. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.19. What is the visual representation of Vishnu Tattva we can use? Should we just use a picture of the Gopinath in the Vishnu temple? So Srimad Bhagavatam 11.17.27 states that spiritual master is the manifestation of Paramatma. Yes, the Gopinath from Bonafide temple is also Paramatma. And Srimad Bhagavatam gives the analogy that a letter put in the official post box is sure to be delivered by the postal system. But if you put your letter in any other box on the street, that letter will not be delivered. Similarly, calling any Archa Vigraha form as Vishnu form is not correct. Only bona fide temples that have gone through the Pran Pratishtha process are the bona fide Vishnu Archa Vigraha forms. So I'll bring up on screen Srimad Bhagavatam 11.17.27, which describes spiritual master is the manifestation of Paramatma. So we have 11.17.27. Somebody can please read the translation quickly.
I can, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Translation: one should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him as an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods.
So in the word-for-word translation, Prabhupada also goes on to clarify that Acharya refers to spiritual master, and in the purport also, Prabhupada goes on to clarify a lot about spiritual master, that spiritual master is the Paramatma manifestation. Does that answer the inquiry?
Prabhu, I didn't get the question. The devotee wanted to know about Vishnu Tattva.
So
What
the question is, what's the visual representation of Vishnu Tattva?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so spiritual master is the Paramatma, is your visual representation. For all those who still don't have living spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada is the Jagat Guru, is your spiritual master. All right. Question number 10 and 11 are already answered by Nitya and Matan Prabhus. Question number 12 is my favorite question because I got chastised. I like it. Question number 12, last question for today. Have undivided attention. In Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Ladder, we learned that Karma Kanda is beginning, and below Karma Kanda, the line we drew below Karma Kanda is animal life. Now in Srimad Bhagavatam, we are learning about Grahamedi. Are Grahamedi and Karma Kandya identical? And then further question is, in Bhagavad Gita, you introduced us with Grahastha life. Why this Grahamedi word was not introduced in Bhagavad Gita? Thank you for chastising me. I like it. I can assume that the concept of Grahamedi lifestyle hit hard. So you are correct that in Bhagavad Gita, I did not use the word Grahamedi. Although the concept of Grahamedi is described in Bhagavad Gita 3.25. We'll soon read. So Grahamedi, who is not following religiosity, is as good as the animal. So he will be below the line on the yoga ladder, below the Karma Kanda line. And a Grahamedi following religiosity, he is a Karma Kandya. So Bhagavad Gita 3.25 describes the characteristics of Karma Kandya to be Sakta and Avidwan, meaning he is attached and less intelligent. And 3.25 also describes the characteristics of Grahastha to be Asakta and Vidwan, meaning he is detached and intelligent. As well as when we had discussed Bhagavad Gita 3.25, I had provided Srila Prabhupada's short, spectacular 12-13 minute lecture where Srila Prabhupada focuses just on these words, Sakta and Avidwan, as well as Asakta and Vidwan. So whosoever is interested, you can get that Srila Prabhupada lecture on 3.25 from me again. Now we have discussed that Bhagavad Gita is principles and Srimad Bhagavatam has details or elaboration of those Bhagavad Gita principles. So definitely Grahamedi as a principle is described in 3.25 without the use of the word Grahamedi. And then Bhagavatam, of course, has a lot of details. Now, from the start of our Bhagavad Gita study, I have stated that I generally speak about 40 to 50% of what I have actually studied. And few classes back with the discussion on how to read Srimad Bhagavatam purports, I had again mentioned that at these classes, I am not speaking everything that I have studied because it will take some 20 some years to complete the scriptures. Many will get bored and go away. So yes, I have incorporated a lot of important points up front, but certainly I have not incorporated everything. Now, if required, I can ask Ramya to come at our next class for a brief moment to explain her journey. That Ramya was in our classes, then she dropped off to get Bhakti Shastri degree. And now after getting the Bhakti Shastri degree, she is back in our Srimad Bhagavatam classes so as to again similarly prepare for the Srimad Bhagavatam Bhakti Vaibhav course. And Ramya will explain that our classes provide a solid base, but still there is much more learnings in these degree courses. Further, we have virtually present among us, Gauri and Matan Prabhus, who have taken shelter from our spiritual master, His Grace Vaisheshika Das Adhikari, where they are required to complete courses of our spiritual master before getting initiated, and they can vouch that there is much more learning. Our classes are just providing a solid base. So yes, I accept the chastisement that I did not include all the points in our study, and I did not include the word Grahamedi in our earlier classes. So I will bring up Bhagavad Gita 3.25 on the screen. We'll read and then we'll let Gauri and Matan Prabhus explain. So if you see Bhagavad Gita 3.25 has the words Sakta and Avidwan, and then it says Vidwan and Asakta, that is Grahastha. Vimal Prabhu, you wanted to read earlier. You want to read Bhagavad Gita 3.25 translation?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. As the ignorance perform the duty with attachment to result, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path.
Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhu.
Gauri, Matan Prabhus, you want to share something?
Yes, it's better preparation for that course, Bhakti Shastri course. Yes, I know. So we and that course goes so fast, so we cannot catch up. I mean, we have to prepare ahead of time.
All right. Thank you. So now striking points. You have 4 slides. This is slide number 1. Take a snapshot, please. Slide 2. Slide 3. Slide 4. My last point for today, that I recommend that you all keep a snapshot of what you complete on the striking points and inquiries, and then you can compare, because I do correct a lot of points. So there is an option on the Google form that I can turn on. If you enter your email addresses, then you get a copy. So you still have to select a box whether you want the responses emailed to you. So it's an option. Either you can keep a snapshot for yourself, or if you want me to turn on this option, you let me know. But either way, you should keep a copy and then compare from the slides, so that whatever corrections are required, you can correct for yourself. You let me know what option you want. You don't have to answer now, but later on also. At least for this time, I will just post the form as it is. But if you do prefer for me to turn on the feature of you all adding your email address, it will become a mandatory field. But that's I don't have any control. It's mandatory by the Google form. And then you can tick a box and it will get emailed to you. Thank you all for tolerating 5 extra minutes. Vanchakalpatarupascha Kipasindubhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Everyone.
Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Krishna.